Welcome viewers. Thank you for joining Conversations with Faisal Rashid. In this episode, our guest is City Councillor and business mogul, Mr. Trevor Bolin. Thanks for joining us, Trevor.
Thanks for having me.
People in the Peace region, they know you as the Councillor of the City of Fort St. John and as a well-established businessman. Please tell us a little more about yourself.
A little bit more about myself. Well, I've been in Fort St. John my entire life. My family came here in the 1920s and we've called Fort St. John home since. I'm also a father of two boys. And everything else about what I do revolves around Fort St. John. So whether it's council, whether it's real estate, whether it's businesses, it's all about doing it here at home.
Thank you. And what do you think are your major contributions for our peace community?
I think, I think if it was to sum it up, would be a huge champion for what we do here. Whether it's people who've recently moved here, whether it's families that have been here for as long as mine, it's the fact that Fort St. John can come together and literally overcome anything as long as we do it as a community. And I think that's what keeps people here, and it's what makes people want to be a part of what we're all about.
Thank you. And what's your ideal vision of our peace community?
You know what, I think if we're to look at prosperity going forward, if we're to look at financial sustainability for cities, for families, if we're to look at being able to be a true champion for what we've done, right, and what we're going to do. And you look at some of the projects that are slated for this area, and although they've been slow and there's families that are worrying and definitely going through hard times right now, I think they need to know that it's not going to last forever, right? It's not going to last. Fort St. John is going to be one of the first communities to come back out of what we're currently in the market, and whether that be the real estate market, the business market, whether that be the city end of things, we will be the first ones to bounce back, and we will grow, we will climb, and we will prosper as a community.
Thank you. And what's your vision specifically of Fort St. John community?
My vision would be to keep us on the track that we've gone through for the last 7 or 8 years. Would be to keep taxes as low as we can, would be to encourage growth, would be encourage new businesses. And I think that if we do that together, if we all get together and do it, and you see a lot lately about yes voice versus no voice versus just people, and you know what, it just comes down to the people, and it comes down to all of us wanting the same thing for Fort St. John, which we will get.
Thank you. What do you think are the major economic and social challenges faced by our communities presently?
Currently is the wait that we're going through, right? As we wait for LNG and we wait for Petronas and we wait for Shell and we wait for some of these large projects that we've heard so much about for the last couple of years, and it's people are tired of waiting, right? People are tired of hearing that it's coming or it's been delayed or it's in the federal government's hands. We need to push forward. We need to continue on the path that we're gonna become, basically. And as long as we do that, the city's working very hard on the social economics behind that. And the Site C Dam was one of the major ones that kind of brought the city and the community together. And it makes me proud now to look back and the open conversations we had and taking it to the citizens of Fort St. John. And we're not gonna get everything we want throughout that negotiation. But what I deem a great negotiation, and I've done a lot of negotiating over the years, is both parties are willing to get up and walk away from the table, not ecstatic about what the deal at hand was, but ecstatic that they've actually reached a conclusion on that. And neither party is going to be in favor of everything they got, but they're going to be able to say, hey, you know what, we know we did the best that we could, we know there was nothing left on the table, and we did it for the people of Fort St. John.
Thank you. And what do you think needs to be done by the government immediately to improve the economic and social situation currently?
I think we need to work more on the federal side of things, so that people realize that we're not what they picture us to be. That the projects we do, the work that we do, you look at Fort St. John, and I always look back at my family. My family came here in the 1920s for the farming. We stayed through the booms of oil in the 1960s, and then the 70s and the 90s, and now we are here again on the brink of something new. And it seems that our market, our area is always the one on the brink of something new, and have been, since the dawn of time for Fort St. John. They need to realize that the image that they hold for us, every time they start their car, they use their iPhone, every time that they literally live every aspect of their life is because people in this community were on the front line with groundbreaking technology, ensuring that we were moving forward as a province and as a country.
What support do you think is needed by our business community presently?
I think the business community is getting a lot more active than it once was. I think we find a lot of new businesses, a lot of new opportunity, a lot of new citizens start to make that change. And I think when the business community comes together, amazing things can happen. I look years back at the imbalance between business taxes, industrial taxes, residential taxes, and during those times, the business community really came together and said, hey, you know what, this needs to be looked at. Something's not adding up. Something's not making sense. And the city, prior to me, had ordered a report from a very well-renowned professor on taxes to figure out how that can be fixed. And you know what, that was implemented over the course of about a 4-year span, which I was part of. And we were able to listen to the concerns of the business community just as much as we were as the residents.
Tell us a little more about your book, Take Charge and Change Your Life Today. It's inspiring.
Thank you. It was, it was one of those things that, as with all of my life and everything that I've done, is you kind of jump in with both feet and you don't really know what to expect. You don't really know where it's going to go. I had originally written a majority of it for myself, for people in my contacts, for my network, stuff like that. And I put it out to an editor, and the editor kind of ran with it and came back to me about a month later and said, hey, you know what, I've talked to some publishing companies and they want to publish this book. So again, this was in 2011, I think. I jumped on it and I thought, that's fantastic. Let's do this. Nothing cooler than writing a book. Sure. So that was November that year. We did it all up, signed on, and I let the company know that, hey, I get that you want me to do some tours and do some different things, and I'll be available in January. And then December 15th, my itinerary showed up and I was leaving town. And I was starting on this side. I was starting out in Washington, so it was nice. It was close to home. It was easy to get there. And over the course of a 9-month span, I would go from Washington to New York twice, at which point in time I was featured on 150 talk radios, over 100 TV programs, all throughout the United States. And then, the timing was perfect. A lot of people during those times were in trouble. And most of the book and most of the writings or the teachings in the book is the fact that no matter where you are, no matter what's happening in your life, there's very simple baby steps that you can use to start to see change. And, the message was very clear and it was phenomenal, because as I'm traveling across both countries, the messages are coming back from people that it was a fit, something there made sense. And I did sign an agreement for 2 books. Second one definitely not out yet because I just haven't had that much time. And it was great. And I finished off, I came back around Canada. I was featured on all the breakfast programs, all the CTV programs, the national, some really, really good programs that, again, as Canada was kind of starting to feel a bit about what was going on in the US, people were able to grasp it, and they were able to realize that, they can make changes. They're not forced to live the life they think they're currently in, that there's things that can turn around pretty fast. So it was great. It was really good. That was probably the biggest part that got me onto the ideas of helping people out. It's not about helping them out in one aspect or two. It's about actually literally figuring out how it can change, how you can be the change.
And by age 28, you had made your first $1 million within 1 year.
Correct.
How many years do you think it might take you to become a billionaire of a Peace region?
That's a very good question. You know what? It's I guess what I've always believed, and part of the things I've always taught people, no matter where it is, whether I'm at seminars or conventions or speaking in front of colleges in Philadelphia with 10,000 students there, what you do, the income is a byproduct of being able to do a phenomenal job. So I've been fortunate enough at a young age. I got into real estate. Even younger, I was opening up my first RE/MAX office in Dawson Creek, and surrounding myself with good people that knew that I would succeed. Right? Some people think your ideas are way out there, or how can you do this? And you know what? I pledge to always do everything to the best of my ability with the most passion I had for that. And in return, the byproduct was being able to, earn $1 million in a single year. It was be able to be the top realtor in British Columbia, the top 3 realtors in Canada, the top Burger King in Canada for opening. And it's strictly become out of passion for loving what I do.
Thank you. And a recent research report indicates that the world's first trillionaire could emerge within 25 years. Could it be you?
Just trying to think. I'm trying to do the math on that. So 25 years, I would be, I'd be 50 years old. You know what, I better get to work. If that's going to be the next goal, if that's going to be the next task, I better certainly buckle down starting this afternoon and get to work, I guess. But you know what, it could be me, it could be any of the viewers, it could be anybody in Fort St. John. If they're passionate about what they do and they've got a well-calculated course to get there, for sure, it could be any of us in this room.
Thank you. I asked this question because you have been making progress at a very fast pace. And from a millionaire towards a billionaire. And if anyone asks me, I have worked worldwide, I have met some of the richest people in the world. Someone asks me that who is the person who is capable of, possibly becoming a trillionaire. So the first person who would come to my mind is likely to be you.
Wow, that's why I have so many Facebook fans.
Excellent.
You've been telling them that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then it would look very good with your name also.
I
It will
agree.
be recorded as probably, hopefully, Trevor the Trillionaire.
I agree, that sounds fantastic.
Excellent. Thank you. Who are role models to you?
That's a very in-depth question, which is fantastic. You know what, I believe in investing in myself. I believe that every time I learn something new, it's about investing in me. Every time I pick up a book and I expand my thoughts on one topic, it's an investment in me. And my role models over the course of the years certainly would start with some of the great people that have got me into real estate. My boss of that time, the owner of the office, some of the great people that have challenged me to think more, and some of the great authors that the world has to offer that, their books sit on bookshelves just waiting for somebody to pick it up and be able to take it and make it their lives and be part of that change. And you know what, we've got some pretty incredible authors that my biggest thing is learn, right? Expand your horizons, expand your thoughts, and invest in yourself. To pick up a book that's $4.99 online, download it on your iPad or even buy it in the local bookstore, that $4.99, it's unlimited possibilities of what that can turn you into when you start to open up and think about what's possible in your life.
Thank you. And tell me something extraordinary which you want to do in life.
I think, I think where I'm headed right now would be with the foundation. I want to really see the foundation start to benefit local families. I've always been huge on giving to charities, giving to worthy causes, working with not-for-profits, but I've never been able to be the key driver behind that. And part of the reason I started my own foundation, which is contributions from what I do at Remax and Burger King and the Gateway Plaza and a lot of the different projects that I'm involved in, as well as other local businesses, is to be able to see it from start to finish, to be able to be a part of something that changes people's lives. Not once, not for an hour of their day because they want a cone or on that magnitude, but something that actually will be able to be with them every part of their life, from the time that they are right now and in the position that they are, to when they can finally sit back and say, you know what, I did it. And I want to be there. I want to be there for here we are, and I want to be there for I did it. And to me, that means a lot.
Thank you. And from your experience, how can you guide the peace community so every community member can become a millionaire like you?
You know what? It can be done, right? And every community member could do it if they want to do it. It's not easy. It's definitely a lot of hard work, but it all starts with a plan. It starts with simple steps that anybody can do. And whether it's eliminating debt, whether it's starting to build, whether it's growing, you know what? There's a lot of very, very smart, successful people in Fort St. John and in the area. And the best thing about smart, successful people is they're the first ones that will sit down and tell you what you need to know. They're the first ones that love to see other people accomplish amazing things. And you know what, I would suggest starting to look at who those people are that you look up to in the community or in the region, and starting to look at what they do, and you know, whatever level that they're currently on in their investments or their worlds isn't going to be your level today, but it's certainly going to be your level in the future. So that's the steps that need to start being taken.
And what do you do if your investments, you know, they're not going up, but if the value is going down? Or what do you do when you are not successful in life?
I think we're all successful in life. It just depends on what degree a person deems their own success. You know, we're oftentimes the hardest critic of ourselves, and we should be the biggest champion of ourselves. You know, investments are going to go up and investments are going to go down. Diversification is one of the biggest things, right? If you're big into the stocks and you're not into the real estate investment market, those two are often counterbalancing each other, right? So you need to look at what diversifying your investments can bring you, and is one better than the other? I can't tell you that, right? It's got to be what you're most comfortable with. But I know with myself, it's been about diversifying everything that I do, and it's worked. It's worked in good times. It's worked in bad times. And you know, at the end of the day, I'm always the biggest critic of myself, as you probably are. And you know, it's about knowing that you've done something, and whenever I do something, and I've made mistakes, I've made large mistakes, right? I don't regret any mistake I've ever made. I don't regret anything in my life. I look at what I've done, I take the lessons that I've learned from it, and I started to change my life a little bit, and I still do it every day, right? So you can write books and you can give seminars and conferences. The minute you stop learning, you know, and stop investing in yourself, you might as well quit, because there's so much more to do and there's so much more to learn. It's amazing.
Good point. Thank you for these tips. And how do you think we can get rid of poverty regionally and globally?
That's a really good question. Poverty is tough, and I mean, even looking at it as a municipal aspect, I think the problem with poverty, in my opinion, is lifestyle, and a lot of it. You know what? I was fortunate. My dad, when I was about 14 years old, turned to that lifestyle, and he turned to the drugs and the partying, and became homeless. And through that, from the time I was 14 to the time I was about, I'm going to guess probably 24, 25, that was the lifestyle he chose. And forever it would eat at me at every point in the time, how you could go from being so proud and having, you know, what he'd accumulated in his career and his children and his family, to literally having nothing, right, at the end of the day. And if I knew then what I know now, and the relation between his poverty, his lifestyle choices, and depression, health, medical, etc., I probably could have changed that back then. He passed away about a month before the book came out, and it was kind of through my tours and through a lot of the things I learned being on the road, because as much as I was there to teach, I was equally as there to learn. And you know, it came down to the fact that it was starting here. You know, it was starting here with the poverty and with the issues that he went through, and I think we need to look at treatment facilities. You know, treatment facilities are a big one. When you look at the fact that if Fort St. John, someone in Fort St. John is in trouble, and whether it be drug related, alcohol related, depression related, health related, whatever's triggered that reason that they don't feel that they fit in the society anymore, they don't feel like they fit in the community anymore. I think if we can look at how we can best treat them, not by putting them on a bus and sending them 12 hours away. It's not by ignoring them and pretending that they're not there, or trying to avoid certain parts of town, because that is part of our society. It's part of who we are. But so is helping them, so is fixing them, so is being able to work with them. And you know, there's a lot of people that will write it off altogether. And I was one of those. You know what? I was one of those during those times where I would just say, you know what? I'm not even going to believe that this is happening right now. But you know what, it is, and it's happening around us, and it's happening right in front of us, and it's happening to people in our own families, and that's what's making us take a better look at it. And I mean, I've always been a champion for getting facilities to help with that here. And I mean, we have our own issues with medical, of course, but my hope one day is that Fort St. John will have a facility that can help people, and not be about having to give up everything they already know because they have to go so far away, but they can do it right here where their support is and where their families are.
And if they follow your approach, that as you mentioned, starting from beginning with all that transformation, and then we just don't leave them. We take them to the next level of possibly, learning a bit of entrepreneurial skills, learning how to get involved in the community. So excellent idea. And you have held many leadership positions in the community. What does leadership mean to you?
Leadership to me, I like to sum it up with a picture, but of course I'm not going to draw you anything right now. I think leadership is about being on the front line. We look over the last 1,000 years of the world, and we look at some of the greatest leaders and some of the scariest, of course, at the same time. But the greatest leaders are the ones that are willing to be on the front line. They're the ones that are willing to take charge and be with the people. It's easy to say what should be done or what could be done or what didn't get done. Sometimes you just gotta put your book down and you gotta get out and you need to be a part of the change. You need to be the change, and that's what I think leadership's about. It's about being the change.
Thank you. And other than this, what I would ask you, if you become the Minister of Trade and Commerce of the country, what will be the first few things you'll do then to boost the economy?
That's a really good question. That one's going to actually make me dig deep. I think for us as Canada is absolutely loved by pretty much every country. They love us because we're polite. They love us because of our lifestyles. They love us because we have the freedoms that a lot of them don't, and that's something that I think is becoming more well known as times go by. And I would show them there's so much more to us than that, right? You look at some of the stats for what Canada should be proud of, and it goes back to the oil industry and the gas industry and how they view some of what we do at any given time. Nobody questions it when they flick their lights on, right? Nobody questions it when they start their car and their car starts because there's oil and there's gas in it. But it would be more of a learning process to say, you know what, here's how we do it. Here are the proud men and women that have been in Fort St. John since the boom of the 1960s, 1950s. Here's how we did it then, here's how we do it now. And show people that by being a part of us, by being a part of Canada's trade programs, they can be proud of it. They can be proud every time they use power, heat their homes with natural gas that came over from LNG. Be as proud as we are, and then I think they'll really start to understand what Canada is all about.
And you have a proven record of getting rid of debt. So how can you possibly get our national debt cleared?
Whether you look at our national debt or whether you look at your own household debt, at the end of the day, it's the same kind of debt. It just has a lot more zeros behind it when you look at it nationally. Everybody, government gets into power and they love to blame, what was the cause and where did the debt come from and what did the previous government do or not do. At the end of the day, just deal with it. Buckle down. Come up with a plan. Whether you're getting rid of a $100,000 debt, $10,000 debt, or $1 million debt, you can still set out the baby steps it takes. One movement every day in the right direction will start to eliminate the debt. It'll start to eliminate the worries. And when I look at where the debt's come from to where the debt is today, and I look at society and I look at where we're going, it's scary. And until a government actually buckles down and starts to deal with what's happening, and whether that's municipally, whether that's provincially, whether that's federal, it doesn't matter because it's still the same. It's still the same debt, and it can be dealt with.
And what leadership roles can you play for our community in future?
Right now, council has definitely been one of my major roles for the past 3 terms. I've been fortunate enough to be elected once and re-elected twice. So I'm thinking I did something that I set out to do. And I think from that point forward, to me, I've never been a big chase it down federally or deal with it or deal with it provincially. I'm about making changes at home. So from council, if a position as mayor were to arrive or come forward, it would definitely be something that I'd be interested in. We'd have to see as that timeline goes. This point in time, I'm working on a new charitable foundation called the Bolin Foundation, which is geared towards helping single moms, single dads, families that are in trouble. We've had a few local companies that have signed on and want to be a part of it as well. So it's kind of, again, bringing it back to home, bringing it to Fort St. John. We have so many families that are in trouble here, and a lot of times it gets overlooked, whether it's because of pride or whether it's because of people just not knowing what's happening because they don't want to see the big picture. But I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that change right here, 2 blocks from here, 4 blocks from here. I want to start to help change the issues we have in Fort St. John.
Thank you. And what's your message for our youths?
You know what I think for the viewers is getting involved in community. It's getting involved in realizing you are the change. You can be a part of the change. Get together with your business community, get together with your city, get together with your mayor and your council, and even provincially. You know what? Be the champions that you deserve to be because you've done it. Nobody knows Fort St. John better than you, and nobody ever will. So you know what? Be a part of it all.
Thank you. And finally, what's your message for our peace community?
For the peace community is a very similar message to Fort St. John. You know, when I look at what we are as a group, when I look at what happens in this entire region, we are the economic powerhouse of the country. Years ago, we used to boast that our GDP growth versus the provinces and our contribution to the rest of the province was so large here. And when you look at it Canada-wide, that's how we should start looking. We should start looking at the fact that Fort St. John and the Peace region does more for Canada on a GDP growth end of it, on a growth end of it, than most other communities do out there, I believe. And maybe I'm biased, but you know what, at the end of the day, I know what Fort St. John can do, and I love being a part of it.
Thank you for coming to our program, and we wish you all the best.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.